Hi and welcome, my name's Alli and today we have 5 Anthropologie inspired DIYs using mostly Dollar Tree items. So let's hop into the first project. When I saw these little arch-shaped boxes at Dollar Tree, I was instantly inspired by them. First thing I did, because we're not keeping this little pattern, sadly, is sand it down a little bit just to rough it up and get off some of that glitter. Now I'm using a combination of this house paint sample. I don't remember the color. I've had this forever. And then also some like peachy, yellowy, and terracotta-y tones. I don't know. I just wanted like a warmish, peachy color. And I mixed in some baking soda as well to create my paint. And I'm really glad I mixed in the baking soda because I'm obsessed with that texture it gives. And all I did was just paint all of the boxes on the fronts, the little backing piece, and the sides, and also on the inside. You don't really have to worry about the bottom inside or the bottom of the box at all. And it took 2 coats to completely cover it. And I let these dry for several hours because I do find the baking soda paint takes a little bit longer to dry than if you just used acrylic paint. Once the baking soda paint was dry, these arches reminded me of rainbows, and I feel like rainbows are such a trendy shape right now, and I thought, why not incorporate them here? So I used a flat angled brush to start forming these rainbows. I used 3 colors, this kind of corally pink, a terracotta-y orange, and a yellow. I wish I would have picked more of a orangey yellow or like a goldenrod yellow, but I just used what I had. And I painted on 3 little stripes, or I guess they're arches, to create my rainbows. And as you'll see here, I alternated the order of the colors on each of the boxes so that they all matched but looked a little different. Next, I took some hot glue and used it to attach all of the boxes together on their sides, and this kind of is turning into a little display, or even could be a cute little shelf. I don't know, I just love how these look glued together. And then I brought in some scrap styrofoam that I have. I pressed it down onto the top of these boxes here just to get an impression so I could cut out the foam and then put in little individual pieces inside each box. Then I just took some brown paint and painted in each of the styrofoam pieces to create some fake soil. Now I picked up a ton of Dollar Tree succulents, and Dollar Tree is the best place to get succulents because they're only $1, and you go to other stores and they're $2 or $3 for the same exact thing. So always get those when you see them. And I just used some hot glue if I needed to and pressed the succulents down into the containers. I tried to do 3 succulents in each container and varied the shape, the size, everything like that. And I just think this is absolutely adorable. I think it has to be one of my favorite little Dollar Tree DIYs. Just like my video last week, Project 2 is my entry in Heidi Sonboul DIY's Creative Champion Contest. You guys voted last week who was going to be moving on to round 2, and I just was so shocked that you guys picked me to move on to the next round. I can't even put it into words how grateful I am for everybody who voted for me and is supporting me through this competition. Now down in the description box, you'll find a link that will take you to Heidi's channel where you can cast your vote for me. And also there's a link below that that has the link for the Friend Friday Hop so you can see all of the other competitors in this competition. So check those out after you finish watching this video. And now let's move on to project number 3. In the springtime, Dollar Tree always has a ton of these bamboo wind chimes, so I picked up 4 packs and I took everything apart so I just had the little chime pieces. I'm using an 8-inch, I think, embroidery hoop, and instead of buying 2 different hoops, I decided to just glue this little metal piece together here like so, and then hide it with some Dollar Tree raffia, I think. So once I got that raffia all wrapped around the embroidery hoop, It's time to start assembling this really cute planter. I used that little metal bracket as a guide for where to place the first piece of bamboo, and then I placed another piece directly across from it on the other side, and then I repeated that for the next 2 pieces, so I had 4 on the embroidery hoop. Then all I did was divvy up the remaining bamboo pieces that I had and glued them all evenly spaced as I could around the remaining parts of the embroidery hoop. How many times am I going to say embroidery hoop in this tutorial? With the bamboo pieces attached, I doubled up 2 pieces of raffia and I began wrapping them around the bamboo. So I made a little bit of an X shape you can see here. I brought it from the back around and then crossed it over and brought it around, and then put one more kind of loop around on the embroidery hoop before moving on to the next bamboo piece. And I repeated that until I had the raffia wrapped around every single bamboo piece. Now, at this point, I was keeping all the bamboo pieces level with each other, so they were all like hitting the table at the same point, but I wish I would have thought a little bit more about this and either cut them all down to the same size with a hacksaw, or space these bamboo pieces out because they're different lengths so that they would be a little bit more staggered on both the top and the bottom. Next, I'm bringing in my second part of the embroidery hoop and I'm using my hot glue to attach it. And also I'm using Gorilla brand hot glue. I love this hot glue. I use it all the time because it has a super strong bond. Once the second hoop was attached, I then repeated the same steps with the X patterns with the raffia going all the way around these pieces of bamboo. And you can kind of see here how the pieces ended up being different lengths like so. It is kind of cute. It does create a little bit of a look, but I think it might look a little bit better if you kind of evened out the spacing going around a little bit better. Now, to make this more of a plant stand, I decided to take some Dollar Tree dowels and I cut them down to fit on the embroidery hoop so that they would be able to sit on the lip of the hoop. And I cut one the full length and then I cut the other one the same length and then cut it in half. So I just hot glued those pieces in to create a little bit of an X shape in the middle, and to make that really, really secure to hold a plant, I then use a ton of hot glue and some more raffia to just wrap it around that little X that is formed in the middle for extra stability. I decided this planter needed some feet, so I'm taking these other little bamboo pieces from the wind chime and I'm gluing them between 2 of the bamboo here. I'm using 3 pieces. You could do 4. I decided to do 3 because I feel like that's like the new modern way to have 3 legs. I don't know. And I just hot glued those into place, and then I also used a small little scrap of popsicle stick that I had to give some extra stability, and I just used a ton of hot glue, and these aren't going anywhere. And here is the finished result. Next up, I wanted to create my own version of that really popular mirror that everybody's obsessed with from Anthropologie, but a bit smaller and from Dollar Tree. So first up, I used some of these little rhinestone strips that Dollar Tree sells and just stuck them down on the inside of this rectangular frame. Also, love working with mirrors because you get to see me reflected in the mirror, and I don't look too happy here, but I promise you I'm just really concentrating. And after I got all the rhinestones on, I did realize that you can flip the mirror over and remove the backing so that you don't have to see my reflection in it the whole time. Anyway, once that mirror was removed, I used more Dollar Tree succulents. I thought these would be the perfect way to make this DIY because normally when I see people recreate it, they use faux silk florals, and like those are great, but the succulents have much more structure to them. They're going to be a little bit more solid than if you used a faux floral. So I ended up just trimming them down and kind of picking out the little pieces that I thought would look good. And I started forming a little detail at the top with some of the succulents and also at the bottom. I also had these little like floral grass kind of pieces that were off of another Dollar Tree stem. Just look for anything that is plastic or like silicone or whatever. instead of using the silk florals, and you'll really get a great look with this. And then I just took the frame outside and gave it 2 really good coats of gold spray paint. Once that spray paint dried, I mixed up a little bit of some brown with some black acrylic paint in a lot of water and began just brushing it onto the frame. Now immediately I started wiping it up and I realized it needs to sit on the frame for a couple minutes so the paint kind of dries a little bit and really gets in all the nooks and crannies on this really beautiful frame that we've created here. And here is the final look. For this project, I'm starting with 2 Dollar Tree canvases, and I used a craft knife to cut away the canvas off of the frames. And I thought about maybe removing the staples, but decided that I could just flip the frame over and it will completely hide them. So I just removed the canvas, pulled off all of the excess that was there, then used some hot glue to attach the frame back onto the canvas, but I wanted the ungessoed, unprimed side facing upwards so that it looked like this. And once the frames were attached, I used my craft knife to trim off the excess canvas around the edges. Now my Dollar Tree got in these gorgeous looking plastic ferns. I'm in love with them. And I removed 2 of the pieces. As a little detail, I took my hot glue and wrapped some jute twine around this bit of the stem right here just to kind of cover it up and make it look a little nicer. And I also added a tiny little bow onto each piece to finish it off. Next, I took my hot glue and I just attached these ferns into the little frames I've created. I positioned one on the right bottom and then the other on the left top to create a little asymmetry, and I really like how these look together. Dollar Tree's also been upping their sticker game, and I found these. I think they're so cute. They're like craft paper. So I stuck one on each corner of the frame, kind of in the same spot, but just mirrored because of the direction of the ferns. And then onto each of these stickers, I wrote out the word bloom first, and my little trick is to start with the center letter and then work outward just to make sure that the word is spaced centered onto the little tag. Also, I didn't glue these down, but I do wish I would have because they did start to peel off a couple days later, so use some glue to secure these. Next, I flipped the canvases over. I tied a little knot in the middle of a jute twine piece, put hot glue into the corners of the canvas like so, and let that cool, and then I hung them up as a set on my wall. Don't forget to cast your vote for Alli DIY if you want to see me move on to the next round, and check out the hop so you can see what everybody else has created for this competition. Again, thank you so much for all of your support. It means so much to me. And thanks so much for watching this video. And I hope to see you again next week for round 3. Bye.